Hi, it's the Carter Man, and it is Friday. Normally on Fridays, I give you the postcast update of the top 3 social media posts from Constitutional Rights Pack over the past week. But this Friday, I'm going to do something a little different, a little bit different. I'm going to give you kind of an overview, if I may. Some might say a preview of what your CR PAC intends to do over the course of the next year. And what we intend to do is very intense and very extensive, all right? Because we have arrived at the conclusion, after many political fights over the past year, many of which, thanks to you, we were able to emerge victorious in important political battles. We've realized that what we really need to focus on in this coming year is a total revamping of the political system in Washington. Okay? It is broken beyond minor repair. It's broken beyond the point where you can say we need to just tweak it here, fix it up a little bit there, take a few new approaches. No, we don't need to take a few new approaches. We need to revamp the system. We know now that our political system is broken, horribly broken. Almost, you might say, beyond repair. It needs to be rebuilt. And so we're going in 5 directions, all very serious. And we are going to fight tooth and nails for these, because we cannot go on with the current political corruption we have, with the current political atmosphere in Washington, with the types of leaders, and I'm using the word leaders very loosely here, because let's face it, the 537 members of Congress today, certainly the quote leadership in the White House, the overall leadership throughout the political environment in Washington no longer works. They are not leaders. You know, years ago, Bill Buckley said you could take the first 537 people out of the phone book and they'd be better public servants than those we have in Washington. If it was true then, he probably said that 40 years ago. Imagine how true it is now. You look at these people, you see the things they do. Mitch McConnell, God help us. Adam Schiff, Schumer. I mean, as I'm saying these names, you're saying to yourself, these are terrible people. Waters, Ocasio-Cortez, they are I'm going to say it, they're the dregs of society, okay? Look, quite frankly, most of these people you wouldn't even want as a next door neighbor, let alone supposedly representing you in Congress and trying to protect your interest and defend your rights, because they're not doing it. It's the uniparty. There's not a dime's worth of difference between the Republicans and the Democrats in Washington. We see it every day. The Republicans keep telling us, well, you give us power, watch the difference we make. We give them power, and it's the same old. Look at this new House majority. It was horrifying when McCarthy was in, but it's not much better now with Mikey Johnson in, is it? They're not doing anything. And when I say not doing anything, they're talking. Talk is cheap, and we don't need it. We need to see some action. We need to see some impeachments. We need to see cut off funding of departments that are going contrary to everything the American people believe in and hold dear. We need just to totally eviscerate the funding for places like HUD and the Office of Education, Department of Homeland Security. I'm sorry, we're there now at this point. You might say, well, what about our security? What security? They've allowed 11 million illegal invaders to cross our border, not exactly security. So we've realized at your CRPAC home team at CRPAC headquarters has realized we need some in-depth changes. So I'm going to briefly, over the next few minutes, give you the 5 we're going to be shooting for, and we ask your help in it. We ask your help in it. That's why I'm sharing these with you. We need your help actively, fighting bare knuckle, take no prisoner, give no quarter, in order to achieve victories in these 5 areas. 5, let me get the right number up there, that I'm about to go over with you, okay? So let's go over them. I think you're going to love every one of them. And my promise to you is we are going to fight for these changes, and we're not going to be satisfied until these changes are made in Washington. May not all happen next year, but as John Kennedy said in his inaugural address, let us begin. Let us begin. And we can begin with your help, okay? With your help. All right? Number 1, and the most obvious, and you're going to say it before I even say it, term limits. Severe term limits. 6 years in the House, 6 years in the Senate. That's it. That means 3 terms in the House, 1 term in the Senate. Go home. Go home. Politics was not meant to be a career in America. Once it becomes a career, it invariably becomes corrupt. Let me say that again. Once politics becomes a career, it invariably becomes corrupt, which is where we are today. The whole bunch of them is corrupt, okay? The whole bunch of them is corrupt. You can't trust one of them. Okay, there's a couple of House members, 1 or 2 senators, John Kennedy, Josh Hawley, yeah, but generally speaking, out of the 537, 500 you can't trust as far as you can throw them. All right, let's put it that way. So term limits. And okay, we'll say if you've served 6 in the House, you can serve another 6 in the Senate. We prefer you go home, but we'll go that far. But that's it. That's it. No more career politicians. Because what happens is, you remember, John Kennedy said, he found among his colleagues that they came to do good and they ended up doing well. And that's where we are today, isn't it? I talk about the 3 Ps, power, prestige, and payola. That's what happens after they stay there, usually beyond 6 years. I worked in Washington 50 years. You might be saying, well, what about you? Well, you're right. I had to guard myself every moment from becoming part of the system, and trust me, I did. You can talk to anybody that knew me in any position I held, whether Director of Communications at Right to Work Committee, Director of Communications Judicial Watch, Director of Communications for the U.S. Senate, and they will tell you he was never one of us. He was never one of us. And I tell my staff, remember, you're here to serve. You're here to serve, so don't start letting it go to your head. And it never went to mine. Unfortunately, I'm just going to tell you that's a rarity, okay? And what I found in all those years there, at the very highest levels, is 6 years is about it. Okay, after 6 years, you see that mindset creep in. You see the swamps seep in, okay? And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. That includes both elected politicians and the heads of these various conservative Inc. groups in Washington. Once they've been there beyond 6 years, suddenly they become part of the buddy system, the good old boy network and girl network. And they're not worth a tinker's damn. Frankly, we want these people at each other's throats. We want them to fight with each other. We don't want them to get along, okay? Because when they get along, they start conspiring. And that's what they do. So term limits. Go in, serve, and go home, okay? Go in, serve, and go home. That's number 1, term limits. Vitally important, folks. If they're there beyond 6 years, they become part of the system. And then they're more interested in defending the system than they are you. Remember when John Boehner retired? Weepy. And he said that he felt he had served, he had done his number 1 job to protect the institution of the House of Representatives. That wasn't his number 1 job. Well, it's not in the oath. Protect and preserve the Constitution, yes. Serve the people, yes, but not defend and uphold the House of Representatives. I did my job. No, that wasn't his job. That wasn't his job. And that's part of the problem. They become so caught up within that dome, if they're in Congress, that becomes their number one priority. Serving those who are with them under the dome. Payola, prestige, and power. Enough. Gone. Leave. Go back home. And what that'll do is allow other good people to come, real working people. Real working people. Number two, term limits number one. Number two, salary caps. Salary caps, no member of Congress, none, should make more. If it's in the House, they should not make any one dime more than the average income in the district they serve. In the Senate, not one penny more than the average income in the state they serve. Not one penny more, okay? They bring in about $200,000 a year, and they serve districts where the people are lucky to bring in $20,000 to $30,000 a year. So they have no idea what it's like to have to live on a limited income. That's why they spend like drunken sailors. That's why they drive inflation through the ceiling. That's why they have no concept of the value of a dollar and create that $4 or $5, $6 billion deficits every year, $1 trillion deficits every year, because they don't have to live on a budget. Well, let's make them live on a budget. Now, I hear some people saying, well, a lot of rich people won't want to do that. Good. Stay home. Stay home. If you won't live off what your own people that you're supposed to be serving make, share their pain. Remember Bill Clinton, I feel your pain. Let's make them really feel our pain. Let them feel the pain of the working people here on Rockdale Avenue where I live, instead of living like kings and queens, okay? In their plush apartments. You know, I know where they live, and it's all the lap of luxury. Okay, so enough of that. Enough of that. While they're there, you live on the same amount of money your constituents live on. If you don't like it, go home. Go home. Okay? Very serious about that. It's totally, absolutely untenable for them to make the kind of money they do and act like they can serve working people who are trying to scrape by and have too much month at the end of the money. They never do, because they get their stipends as well, their daily stipends. So put an end to it. Salary caps, severe salary caps. That may help chase some of them home. Remember I told you the 3 Ps, payola, prestige, and power. We're going to cut off some of the payola. So that's number 2. Number 3 goes along the same lines. No outside income during the time you're serving. Yeah. If you have investments, if you own businesses, you can't touch the money during the time you're serving. And your family might say, well, Harold, I don't want you to have to live off that little bit of money. Tough. Don't serve. Don't serve. Let me quote here, all right? During that time, live like those you're supposed to be serving. So don't say, okay, I'll go ahead and live off average income in my district of $27,000 a year, but I also make $100,000 a month on my investment returns. Not under the policies we're pushing. Put them in the bank. Put them somewhere. Put them aside. Also, blind accounts. Blind accounts. So you can't be voting for bills that increase the returns for the companies you've invested in. All right? Vitally important. No. During that time, and if your family says to you, well, we can't be expected to live off that little money, bit of money, then the member of the Senate or House has to tell their family, you're right, we can't, so I'm coming back home. It's just that simple. All right? I know it's strict. But let them see how the rest of us live, and then see if they want to keep voting for these massive spending bills. See if they want to send hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine, okay? Send out hundreds of billions of dollars in welfare checks, okay, to people who don't want to work. See if they want to keep wasting money when they know how it is to have to live on a budget like the rest of the American people do. All right? Let's get serious about this. So, number one, term limits. Number two, salary caps. Number three, outside income ban. Ban. Not one penny of any investments or family businesses while you're serving. You and your family live off the same amount of money that the families live off that you're supposed to be serving. Period. Period. All right. Number four, total 5-year lobbying ban. Total. These bums, and I'm going to call them bums, what they do is they vote for all these bills for the special interests down on K Street. I watched them, folks. I worked with them. And here's two things that happen. One, they've already been promised, hey, Congressman, don't forget, when you get done there, my friend, we have a job for you here at such and such a company's lobbying office. Okay? Be high pay too, $500,000 a year minimum. We got it all. We're putting it aside for you. So, oh, by the way, don't forget we have a bill coming up that would really help us. So just take a look at it if you don't mind. That's what they do. So a 5-year ban. Every member of the Senate and House has to know they cannot work for any company that lobbies them, lobbies the Congress for a minimum of 5 years after they leave office. And now I'm going to take it a step further. Neither can the members of their families. And, get ready, their families can't work for the K Street lobbying firms while the member is in office. Let me tell you what they do, because I've been there. I worked at one point for the top lobbying firm in Washington. And lo and behold, you'd be stunned at how many of the key staffers were the wives or sons or daughters of the members of Congress. How convenient was that? How convenient was that? Well, you know what they were saying doing pillow talk, don't we? Yeah, well, we're not going to stand for it anymore. We're pushing for a total lobbying ban. Total lobbying ban. For 5 years after they leave office, and for their families the whole time they're in office. Can't have any member of the family lobbying. Folks, we need to revise the whole system. It's totally busted. It's totally busted serving the major interests, particularly the military-industrial complex. Particularly the military-industrial. Remember what a couple weeks ago Biden said Americans shouldn't be all upset about the $200 billion we've sent over to Zelensky, because 60% of it is spent right here on our own arms manufacturers, Raytheon and Norcraft, all these people. It's obscene. It's obscene. So what happens is Senator so-and-so votes for the bill to increase the spending to Ukraine, winking and nudging Raytheon, because the money's going to be coming back into their pockets. And then don't forget, we got that job for you when you get out. It's obscene. It's obscene. And we're going to put a stop to it. Your Constitutional Rights PAC is going to fight that tooth and nail. So there you have your top 4 term limits. 6 and 6. 6 in the Senate, 6 in the House. It means 1 term in the Senate. 1 term. Go bye-bye. Go home. Leave. Let somebody who's been out there working for a living come and take your place, okay? Salary caps. Member of the Senate or the House, you make the same amount of money as those you serve. Not 1 penny more. No. No. Bad dog. Not 1 penny more. No outside income. None. When we say live like the people you serve, we really mean it. We really mean it. You can go back to your, Mitt Romney and all these others worth all those hundreds of millions. You can go back to living that lifestyle. Once you finish serving, remember, you are a servant. And while you're a servant, we're going to make damn well you start acting like a servant. Okay? So that's number 3. Lobbying ban. Serious lobbying ban for 5 years after you leave, and nobody in your family lobbies Congress while you're in office. And finally, full leadership access. It's one of the little tricks they pull. They make it impossible to get hold of them, don't they? You ever try and, let's say some senator is leading the fight, like a kook like Lindsey Graham who wants to bomb Iran, and he's leading that fight, and you want to contact his office, send an email saying, hey, I'm not for that. I don't care to start World War III. Well, you can't, because they have restricted it so well. Only his constituents can write emails to him. Why? He's affecting everybody. So here's how we want to get around that. Any member of the House or Senate who is a committee chairman, who is in leadership of a committee or a subcommittee, has to grant open access to every American. Publish your phone number, publish your email address, publish your fax number. Totally. No more dodge. No more saying, well, I'm the senator from Utah, so I only answer to people in Utah. Not if you're the chairman of a committee or a subcommittee that directly affects every move the rest of us makes. Okay? In that case, you're answerable, Senator, Congressman, to all of us. And folks, what we're going to do with CRPAC is start pushing for open access laws, open access rules and regulations in the House and the Senate. If you're on a committee, if you chair a committee or a subcommittee, you must accept phone calls, emails, faxes, and text messages from every citizen in the United States, because your decisions in positions of power directly affect every citizen in the United States. All right? So there you have the 5. And I know they're pretty aggressive. I'm pretty happy with them. We're beginning our interviews with candidates for the Senate and House seats. Remember, we're targeting 20 House seats and 10 Senate seats, and we're going to ask them about each of these 5. Will you support each of these 5? And if they say no to any one of them, we say bye-bye. Don't hit yourself in the gluteus maximus with the door as you leave, because you're not getting CRPAC support. Not going to do it. Not going to get it. And we're going to be pushing with the members that we talk to on a regular basis and letting them know, we know some of these things, Senator, Congressman, you may not like, and some of your colleagues are going to hate them, and they're going to hate you for supporting them, but we expect you to support them. Okay? No more Mr. Nice Guy. It does not work. And I'll close with this. Years ago, when I first came to Washington, a long time ago, back in the mid-70s, that's when the conservative movement began in Washington. All right? And it was led by people like Richard Viguerie, who at 90 is still fighting hard. A guy named Paul Weyrich, who founded the Committee for Survival of Free Congress. When I first met Paul, his office was in a garage behind 2nd Street, and he made Free Congress into a very, very powerful outfit. Terry Dolan, head of NCPAC, kind of invented political direct mail, a hard-hitting copy. He's a master at it, and scared the hell out of a lot of members of politicians, and got rid of some bad ones and brought in some good ones. He was a great man who died too young. Morton Blackwell, Howie Phillips, the giant intellect who built like a tank, folks. I used to call him behind his back the tank. And he rolled over people like a tank if it was necessary, okay? These leaders were no nonsense. I personally heard more than one of them tell a member of the U.S. Senate, we put you here and we'll take you out if you don't do as you're told. I worked with Reed Larson, another one of the great founding fathers at the National Right to Work Committee. Reed one time had me write an ad about the labor law reform bill, because Howard Baker from Tennessee, who should have been a staunch right to work supporter, it's a right to work state, was jellyfishing on us, okay? He had no backbone. So Reed said, write a full-page ad. And he said, we're going to run it in every paper in Tennessee. 4 o'clock in the morning, Reed got a call from Howard Baker saying, please please don't run that ad. Call off that ad and I'll do whatever you want. That's the kind of thing we're going to start doing now. Again, you know, Everett Dirksen, and I'm going to close with this, who I just loved, I had the chance to work with, and he was a great leader. Everett Dirksen said, you know, when I feel the heat, I see the light. Well, we're going to make him feel the heat again, folks, with your help. So together, in 2024, let's change the face of the political landscape in Washington. Together, let's do this thing.